Hey, what's up everybody? Jason here. Just a quick short video on 5 things you must know about the Softube Console 1. So first up is the history function. Now this is really cool because Logic has a bunch of undo steps, but that doesn't include parameters for different plugins. So if I go here and just adjust some of these settings, so I've got something in here, I'll adjust the gate, I'll turn the drive up, I'll muck around with the compressor, I'll set some high and low gain, some other things, change my low and high cut again, move it back to where it was. And let's say I mess something up really bad. All I have to do is hit Shift, track number 5, which brings up the history function. It grays out the screen, and then now you can use the output volume to actually go back in time. And any point you want to go back in time, you hit the OK button, and it's going to restore the settings for where they were at, which is really cool. The second thing isn't so much a feature, but just something to look out for. So I use a lot of mid-side processing with my mixes. So if you look at this track here, I've got 2 tracks set up. I just use the default Logic project here. So I've got console 1 running on the guitar and the amp tracks. So you can see that I've got the 2 tracks right here, and obviously I can switch back and forth between these tracks. Now, suppose I wanted to do mid-side processing on the drum kit. If I add console 1 in dual mono, now I'm actually going to have to adjust the track name for each individual one. So if I switch this to mid-side, I'll have to change this to drums mid, and then I'll have to go back, click on side, set the track name to drums side. And then now if you look down here at the bottom, the order is kind of messed up. So I've got drums mid on channel 1, drums side on channel 3, or track number 3, sorry, where track number 3 is actually the vocal track. So now if I add console 1 here in stereo and pop this back up, it now has bounced the side processing over to channel 5. It's just something to watch out for if you do use any type of different stereo or mid-side processing. It doesn't always order the tracks in the proper order. Now with Logic, the console 1 does not support reordering or renaming tracks inside the console 1 interface, so just something to look out for. All right, so number 3 is about dealing with presets. So the console 1 does have a bunch of presets that are set up. So you enable the console 1, and if you click on presets, you're going to get a list of what it ships with. So you can have factory channel strips, you can have just compressors, you can load just the EQ, just the shape, or any of the user presets. But if you are already a Softube user, and let's just say, for example, you have this FET compressor with Softube, there's a bunch of presets that are already in here, and these presets don't translate into console 1. So there's no way to actually export these and then import them into console 1 because they use a different file structure. So I went and just took a peek at the files to see if I could just copy and paste a preset file from the FET compressor folder into the console 1 folder, but the file structures are different. So on the right, this is the file structure for a preset for the American Class A. So puts that in Java and just sticks all the parameters in an array. And this is a preset I saved with the console 1. So I'm assuming that it's storing the preset information and encoding it somehow. But those two things don't translate to each other. So if you do have a lot of existing presets and customizations that you've done with existing Softube plugins, you're gonna actually have to redo all of those. So I would have to open up the FET compressor here. I'd have to open up console 1. I'd have to load the compressor. So I already have the FET compressor loaded here, and then just manually go through and adjust these. So I've got my ratio here is set to all, so I just have to adjust this ratio to all. What is the release set? The release is set to 5. I'd have to, well, it's already at 5, and threshold, etc. So you'd have to go through and do all of those again. So I've been using the Softube plugins for, I guess, just over a month now. So I do have a bunch of customizations based on the acoustic kit that I have. So just kind of base foundational setups. And that's kind of annoying that I'm going to have to migrate all of those types of things. All right, number 4 is Safe Solo. So Safe Solo is a feature that allows you to hear the individual tracks if you're using any type of summing. So in Logic, these are called track stacks. So I have 3 drum tracks here, and these are rolling up to a drum bus. So if I wanted to start to work on some of these individual tracks, open this up, hit play. Okay, I only want to work on track 3. So now I'm getting nothing. Same thing with track 4, same thing with track 2, and the same thing with the actual bus track. So what you have to do is on the actual summing track here, so on the drum bus, I have to open up console 1, click on the solo safe button, and then now if I go back in and try the same thing, so just something to look out for if you do use a lot of auxiliary buses to do auxiliary sends, or even on your master channel, using that safe solo will allow you to actually hear the audio in there. All right, so the 5th one is using the console 1 to control any plugins. So you absolutely can do that. You can use MIDI mapping to manually set up any of your plugins. So I just went and MIDI mapped this control here to one of the filters on this Shep's Omni channel. So I still have the console 1 plugin running on another track here, so I can adjust these individually through the interface here. But the only way to get it to work is to turn the on-screen display off. So this now tells me that it can't connect to the on-screen display, so make sure you have that running. So now if I turn on the on-screen display and it works, so everything works fine, I can go ahead and go to my track 3 and I can adjust whatever I want. But now if I go back into this audio 1 track and into the Shep's Omni channel, the control for that filter is gone. So the console 1 application that runs, the on-screen console application, actually takes over the MIDI control completely. So you wouldn't be able to do both unless you wanted to just manually mess with the console 1 settings. So, you know, this would be more of a workflow thing. So imagine you use the console 1, you get your mix set up however you want, and then you want to use a different plugin on a different track. You'll have to turn the console 1 on-screen display off completely, and then you could use this to control some of your other plugins again, or you could not use the hardware at all, which kind of defeats the purpose of having hardware, and you could adjust these manually in the plugin as well. So if I quit this console and I click back on this track, my control is now back. And this is track dependent, so if I switch to this other track, it's not going to adjust at all because the omni-channel plugin is only running there. So yes, you could absolutely control other plugins with it. It would just be a bit of a pain to be able to flip back and forth. All right, hope you enjoyed this short video. I've been using the console 1 pretty heavily on a couple of tracks over the last week or so, so I'm starting to notice a lot of these little things that wasn't in my original review. So hope you found those 5 things useful. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.